You've seen them, right? If you've ever gone down a YouTube rabbit hole, you've stumbled on these videos. Grainy, shaky CCTV clips that claim to be real-life ghost encounters. And they get millions upon millions of views. So what is it about them that's so captivating? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on this whole viral phenomenon and see exactly how storytellers turn some pretty ambiguous footage into modern-day ghost stories. And it all really starts with one big question. I mean, really, what is the appeal? Is it just the cheap thrill of a jump scare? The tiny possibility that, hey, maybe this is the one, maybe this is actual proof? Or is there something deeper going on? There's this weird fascination with our modern, high-tech world capturing something ancient and, well, mysterious. And that's the hook. That's what pulls us in by the millions. So, for our deep dive today, we're going to be looking at a super popular compilation from the channel Gaurav Katari Extra. It's basically a highlight reel of so-called found footage, all presented as undeniable paranormal evidence. What we're going to do is break down the storytelling techniques being used here, because they are really clever. Now, what's so interesting here is that what we're really watching is a form of digital folklore. Seriously, think about it. Instead of sitting around a campfire, we're all huddled around our glowing screens. The stories are pretty much the same, unseen forces, shadowy figures, but the medium is totally new. So, we're not treating these clips as proof of anything, but more like fascinating artifacts of modern storytelling. The video we're analyzing kicks off right where fear hits the hardest, inside the home. The whole narrative is designed to play on that deep-seated anxiety that our personal sanctuaries, the one place in the world we're supposed to feel totally safe, can be invaded by something we can't explain. All right, let's look at the very first piece of evidence that's presented. The setup is super simple, which is part of its genius. You've got a guy who's convinced something weird is going on in his apartment. So he sets up a motion-activated camera, leaves for work, and his dog is left all alone. So on screen, you see the dog start to get really agitated. It's just staring at something we can't see. And then, all of a sudden, you see this violent tug on its collar. The poor dog struggles. And then, bam! The collar is ripped clean off its neck, seemingly by an invisible force. And this, right here, is such a brilliant technique. The narrator knows exactly what you're thinking. He anticipates your skepticism, and he just shuts it right down. By saying it's not technically possible, he basically closes the door on any logical explanation and points you directly toward the paranormal one. He's not just showing you a clip, he's telling you exactly how you're supposed to interpret it. Okay, let's move on to the next case and see how this narrative starts to build. We're still inside a home, but this time there's a child involved, which, automatically raises the stakes. We see a boy just chilling on his phone in the living room, and his grandma's resting nearby. The whole scene is totally calm, maybe even a little boring. And then, in a split second, the boy's leg is violently yanked out from under him. He scrambles up and just bolts out of there in absolute terror. It's the sheer suddenness of it that's so jarring. But here, the narrator does something totally different. He uses humor. He actually invents this funny little backstory for the ghost. It's a frustrated mom who's annoyed with her kid's screen time, and he even throws in a pun. It's such a clever way to make the story more relatable, more memorable. He's packaging the fear in a way that's almost shareable. So after firmly establishing that we're not even safe in our own homes, the narrator zooms out. He broadens the scope and straight up says, "You are not safe anywhere." The message couldn't be clearer. This stuff isn't just confined to old haunted houses. It's out in the world, walking right alongside us. So the nature of the fear totally shifts. Inside the home, it feels really personal, invasive. But out in public, the fear becomes about randomness. It could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. The threat isn't intimate anymore. It's chaotic and completely unpredictable. And the video just keeps reinforcing this with these quick, unsettling clips. One security camera catches just a pair of legs walking along a wall before just dematerializing. Then a dash cam catches some kind of spectral figure on a dark highway that vanishes the second the driver looks back. These little fleeting moments are all designed to feed that sense of public vulnerability. And now we get to the main event of the compilation, the Airbnb haunting. This segment is just a masterclass in how to build a complex, compelling ghost story out of a series of small, strange events. The story just unfolds in these perfect layers. First, it's the dog's weird behavior that creates the initial mystery. That leads to her discovering this locked door, which adds a physical puzzle into the mix. Then the tension skyrockets when the dog's leash is just lifted into the air by nothing. And of course, the climax. Her phone is seemingly snatched right out of her hand and goes tumbling down a hidden staircase she never even knew was there. And here it is. This is the clincher. The narrator hones in on this tiny moment after the phone has fallen and come to a complete stop. It then seems to twitch, to almost lift on its own. He asks this simple question that's just really hard to answer. And that tiny detail is designed to be the final piece of irrefutable proof that seals the whole paranormal deal. So, after looking at all these cases, you can really start to piece together the formula, can't you? What's the recipe that makes these real ghost videos so darn effective and shareable? Turns out, it's a combination of a few very specific, repeatable techniques. This toolkit is actually pretty straightforward, but it's incredibly powerful. You start with ambiguous, low-quality footage, like that legless figure, which creates just enough mystery. Then, the narrator comes in with leading questions to steer your interpretation exactly where he wants it to go. The use of unseen forces creates this creepy sense of an invisible, ever-present threat. And finally, by linking a bunch of small events together, like they did in the Airbnb story, you build this whole narrative arc that is just way more compelling than a single jump scare. So really, the crucial point here is this. These videos are a collaboration. The raw footage by itself is just a mystery. It's a question mark. It's the narrator who comes in and provides the story, the context, and the neat little conclusion. We, the audience, aren't just passively watching a video, we're being actively guided through a carefully constructed narrative. And all of this leaves us with one last big thought. Our world is absolutely filled with cameras. They're watching everything, from our front doors to our highways. So have we just stumbled into turning this giant web of surveillance into a brand new stage for telling the same old ghost stories we've been telling for centuries? It really seems like the more we try to document every inch of reality, the more room we find for the unexplained.